Hello and welcome to the MetaGame with me, Oni Black Mage, here today to share some tips and analysis for the new jobs in Bravely Default 2. This will be story spoiler free, so let's get started. First, a few fundamentals. There is no best job and no best team setup. Strategy matters most, and there is no one-size-fits-all approach, so experiment and have fun. To master something means to take its job level to 12, to make it legendary is to take it to 15, which can only be done in the final chapter of the game. Finally, every character has identical base stats, so it doesn't matter who you give what job. Leveling up classes is the fastest it has ever been for the series, as you can now chain battles on demand. There are items called JP orbs that can give JP to a single character, and Wiki family monsters give even more JP. Individual ways of boosting JP, such as with JP up or JP up and up, all stack to give a total of times 2.7 to JP earned on a character from any source, including orbs. Card Sharp's Case, which comes from getting all 105 B&D cards, boosts the JP earned in battle by 2% per B&D battle won. I won 120 battles, and I noticed a times 2.4 multiplier on battle JP. Because this is battle JP, this stacks with all the individual boosts and battle multipliers. So just Card Sharp's Case and Growth Egg alone were giving me a times 4.4 multiplier for every character's JP. I found that grinding the rare monster Mushu in the Savalon Underground to be the fastest way of getting JP for me, as I would set up one person to use Godspeed Strike and everyone else to mimic it 4 times. It does not matter if the first person has the MP to perform the attack because the mimicked action ignores MP costs, so the encounter is over in 20 seconds from 12 Godspeed Strikes. Because Mushu is 3 steps away from an exit, you can simply exit its area, go back in, and he respawns. With a base value of 314 JP, I was getting 848 JP per character with just both JP ups and growth eggs. Your mileage with Card Sharp may vary, but had I equipped mine, it would have boosted each battle to over 2000 JP per character in just 20 seconds. Much faster and easier than chaining and stealing from wikis. Before we talk about jobs, let's talk about the proficiency tied to each one. Like its predecessors, Bravely Default 2 does not explicitly explain the concrete meanings of proficiency ranks, and the differences are pretty significant. For weapons, the proficiency rank only impacts the physical and magical attack, critical chance, and aim values a weapon gives. It does not impact the weight, physical, or magical defense, restorative power, speed, or chance of being targeted bonuses or penalties of the weapon. To better understand the values below, here is an example. Say I have a weapon with plus 100 physical and magical attack, plus 100 aim, and plus 10 crit. If my job has a rank E with that weapon, it is only giving me plus 70 physical and magical attack, plus 7 crit, and a penalty of 30 to its aim. If the job was rank C, then it would get plus 90 physical and magical attack, plus 9 crit, and a penalty of 10 to its aim. If it were rank S, then it would give me plus 135 physical and magical attack, plus 14 to crit because this game usually rounds up on the decimal, and a bonus of 35 to aim. The proficiency ranks for shields only affect shields. Head and torso armor are not impacted by proficiency in any way, so anyone can wear any armor and it makes no difference. Like with weapons, only certain stats are impacted by proficiency, not everything, and not in the same things as weapons. By the way, I shortened chance of being targeted to simply aggro. Also, keep in mind evasion on shields is always a penalty, so having a higher proficiency in shields means you increase the evasion penalty, while having a lower proficiency lowers the evasion penalty. I want to get this out of the way first because not everything is about brute forcing the game. So all this buzz on Godspeed Strike. Is it an attack that you get very early and can destroy bosses with almost no setup easily? Yes. Is it the best single target damage king in the game? No. As the game goes on, especially as you raise classes to Master or Legend, Godspeed Strike starts to pale in comparison to competitive options, though it is still among the best, and its early access means it can carry more than half the game by itself for all bosses. I decided to run some build tests against a vanilla Godspeed Strike, and to keep things even and reduce variables, no buns have been consumed to alter stats, no gear will be equipped, Freelancer or Beastmaster will not be equipped as a subjob with Specialty 2, Natural Talent and Bare Knuckle Brawler will not be equipped, and damage is not altered by weapon weakness. Only the ability Surpassing Power to exceed the damage cap will be equipped on the Thief. Main jobs Phantom, Dragoon, Beastmaster, Oracle, and Bravebearer will be ignored as they can just equip Thief as a sub-job and will Godspeed Strike harder with better stats naturally, or in the Oracle's case, the exact same strength. I feel this measures the baseline raw power best and evenly, as a lot of directions and circumstances affect the maximum power of any attack, and given enough grinding and buns, the max damage cap of 99,999 can be hit in several ways. For consistency, our main control enemy will be the humble Halcyonian Goblin and its mob. With this, our control Godspeed Strike is rounded around 6k normally and 9.5k on a crit. Since Godspeed Strike also has a follow-up tick of damage on the enemy's turn for the same amount, we can safely say the attack does 12k normal, 19k crit damage per use on a single target. So who can compete against this damage, and what is the minimum effort to match it? The following setups can also do similar to single or groups, again with no gear or Freelancer Beastmaster subjobs equipped, all with surpassing power equipped. For mages with group targeting damage spells, bouncing a spell off a reflected party is an easy way to multiply damage, as it will send back 4 spells to the enemy for the price of 1. You can set up Reflect with an Oracle, equip a Reflect Ring, or bring up a Rock Tortoise with Beastmaster. Black Mage, equipped with Magic Critical, Full Force, and Epic Group Cast, wide casting any of the Aga level spells on a reflected party will send back 4 spells at around 5k normal to 7k on a crit to a group, though about 3k to 5k to a single target, which is normal damage. So the range is wild from 12k to 20k on a single target to 20k to 28k to a group per spell. Red Mage with the same Black Mage setup deals 2.5k to 4k 8 times to a single target with Aga level spells chain spelled, or 3.5k to 6k on a group, so the spread would be 20k to 32k on a single target or 28k to 48k to a group per spell. Arcanist with Red Mage with just Subjob Specialty 2 and Magic Critical, wide casting a reflected Aga level spell, deals 4.5k normal, 6k crit 8 times to a group or single target, so the spread is 36k to 48k per spell. Pictomancer with Oracle Subjob with Subjob Specialty 1, Dirty Fighter, and Magic Critical can hit a splattered chartreuse target with Triplaga for 9k normal and 12k crit up to 3 times, so potentially 27k normal to 36k on a crit to a single target. Physical-minded jobs have options too. Freelancer with Berserker Subjob with Last Resort and at critical health hits with Death's Door at 20k damage normally, 35k on a crit to all enemies per use. Vanguard with just plus 100% chance of being targeted will hit with Neo Cross Slash for about 6.5k on a normal hit and 10k on a crit, and since this attack hits twice, that's 13k normal, 20k crit to a single target. Monk with Maximize HP hits with Phoenix Flight for a flat 39,994 damage to a single target. If you're feeling lucky, Gambler with Natural Talent rolling an 8 on Unlucky 8 did 22k on average, 32k on a crit. Swordmaster with Oracle Subjob with Subjob Specialty 1 hits with 9-fold Flurry after Elemental Supplement for about 1.5k normal, 2.2k crit 9 times, so 13.5k normal to 19.8k crit to a single target. Hellblade's Ultima Blade with HP MP Converter and across the board will be doing 99,999 damage to a group without breaking a sweat. So as you can see, the further you play the game, many options open up. For the job analysis, please understand I focus on jobs that provide synergy with each other, so that the sub-job is enhancing the theme and strengths of the main job. I won't be talking too much about chance of being targeted, aim, evasion, and critical chance stats because those are much more influenced by gear and RNG than jobs. I also won't be factoring in any of the weapons that grant all of a job's passive abilities because by the time you get them, you are already almost done with the whole game, so that's not really useful to plan around. Don't forget that equipment boosts affect the final value, not the base value. As such, to weigh the relative power of the jobs, no weapons or gear was used in testing when possible in order to measure baseline benchmarks. So, no matter what your gear on hand is, you can still make any of these combinations work even better. Starting Job Freelancer is a highly useful utility job for a variety of playstyles with some handy and unique abilities. Purge is one of the rare ways to get rid of the very rare but very deadly Doom status effect. Square 1 can remove nearly all buffs from an enemy. Lucky Charm is one of the rare ways in the game to boost luck, and Treat is a cheap pick-me-up that pays for itself. It's unclear exactly what and how much Lucky Charm buffs, but it seems to be something like doubling anything chance-based, but don't quote me on that. Body Slam is one of the best physical moves in the game, matching or exceeding several early game attacks from early jobs by leveraging encumbrance as well as physical attack, especially when combined with abilities like the always useful defensive offense and raw power. Keep in mind, Body Slam does not count as a weapon type attack, so any defenses or counters against weapon types are ignored by Body Slam. Its crowning ability, Mimic, is rough to set up the timing for to copy an ally's previous move, but when it works, it is unbeatable. Into Chapter 1, the Freelancer is fine to use as a main job, but afterwards it is best used as a sub-job. While worth mastering for the JP up and up alone, which can be easily done in the prologue before visiting the grave of Sir Sloane's wife, the true power comes later in the game as more and more jobs become mastered. It comes late in the game, but the legendary Freelancer has the highest base stats almost across the entire spread, and every job can benefit from the same raw boost thanks to either Swordmaster's double duty specialty or the ability sub-job specialty 2 from the Bravebearer. Also note, if you like critical hits, it also has a whopping 39% base crit chance, the highest in the game, so consider the critical flow and critical amp abilities as well as high crit weapons. Of course, it bears mentioning a grinded out Beastmaster with hundreds and hundreds of caught monsters will exceed it stat-wise, but it depends on how you like to play, and this is more passive to obtain. Shout out to Berserker as a subclass, as with the ability's natural talent, full force, surpassing power, and epic group cast, a Freelancer, surviving at 1 HP from stand ground, can turn around and use Berserker's Death Door to hit every enemy for upwards to the maximum of 99,999 damage with the Freelancer's high crit chance. Also, you don't even need to be at 1 HP for this combo to work. Just being at half health can still deal more damage than a Godspeed Strike critical. Just make sure your Salve-Maker keeps those elixirs coming or you time your mimics well. As your first offensive magic class, Black Mage wields Fire, Blizzard, and Thunder family spells that boast high accuracy and itself has a very large MP pool. Its best role is as a magical sweeper that can clear encounters for you quickly from point A to point B, as well as quickly chain battles. Unfortunately, as a main job, it is quickly made obsolete, as its poor stat array and access to only 3 of the 8 magical elements makes it incredibly more useful as a sub-job for another caster. In Bravely Default 2, many bosses are very vulnerable to many status ailments. As such, the job also has the spell Poison, which inflicts a very useful tick of about 500 damage per enemy turn that can really help take down early chapter bosses and rare monsters, but it's at a lower accuracy than other jobs and abilities that can also poison. Remember, you can wield 2 staffs for a boost in magical attack, but with dual wield equipped you can take full advantage of the boost from the second staff. For abilities, Magic Imp, Magic Critical, Full Force, and Epic Group Cast all work together well to take advantage of the Black Mage's strengths as a sweeper, doubling to quadrupling the normal damage of a single spell to every foe in a group. For what it does best, it can be paired with Sub-Job Specialty 2 and Red Mage for Earth and Wind area spells, static healing, and chain spell. Pictomancer can add debuff options for synergy as well as strong light and dark spells. The Spiritmaster can provide excellent support independent of its stats and also sit comfortably in the Black Mage's large MP pool. Lastly, the Oracle's Time Magic pairs well, as does its first specialty, which greatly increases elemental magic damage effectiveness. Another good trick is casting Reflect with the ability across the board in Epic Group Cast, as once Reflect is up on everyone, hitting your party with an area spell, it will cast the spell 4 times randomly at the enemy side. If facing a single boss, it means the Black Mage could be casting 4 flares per Brave, so make sure to be keeping that gold hairpin equipped. As the first magic support job, White Mage has spells and specialties that allow it to be relevant the entire game. All of its curing, raising, and protection buffs are made even better by its Master ability, which changes all healing spells from single to group targeting. Recovery spells like Asuna and Raise count, but not buffing spells like Protect and Shell. Remember, Epic Group Cast is a must-have ability as it will restore the power of the slashed healing power of a group cast, and Full Force helps bolster as well. For sub-jobs, the Spiritmaster seems like the go-to, and it is very good, as Regeneration and Re-Raise will also be group cast, and you do not run the risk of Purebringer interfering with party buffs. However, its crowning ability of a group raise is useless to itself as it can already do that, and outside classes will want its second specialty anyway. Otherwise, Bard with its group buffs and Salve-Maker with its status infliction and item recovery are the better complements to the group support, giving the White Mage strong options outside of waiting to heal or revive someone. Vanguard is a flexible physical attacker not only inflicting various debuffs to the enemy with low-cost attacks, but also leveraging enemy aggro to dramatically boost its physical attack and crit chance. As time goes on, the moment you master Vanguard, it becomes second only to legendary Freelancer in physical attack, as its base physical attack score will be boosted by a massive 140% and can grow even higher with more aggro. Unfortunately, the Vanguard is also a bit of a glass cannon, as it does not have the highest HP and physical defense and terrible magic defense to weather all of the enemy's attention. Consider offsetting it with dual wield and thrust and parry, or revenge to get back BP for being targeted. It has a strong kit of single target strikes, made better with the abilities across the board Critical Amp, Critical Flow, and MP Saver. For a more tanky Vanguard, Master Freelancer and Bastion cover for defensive weaknesses, while offering new strikes to support itself with. Swordmaster offers a few great ways to take advantage of aggro, as well as with multiple countering moves. Crit-minded Vanguard should also consider Phantom, as its heavy strike can also refill the turn meter, gaining quicker turns, and its first specialty boosts crit effectiveness even more. The Monk's claim to fame is very high hit points and burning those hit points to deal burst damage. It's a fairly self-sufficient class with little benefit to provide to others, and is a simple class to set up if you just want to have a lot of turns or spam the attack option. Ability-wise, keep in mind Maximize HP will not help with any of the abilities except for Phoenix Flight, since they all cost a percentage of your maximum and not a flat amount of HP. As a side note, many will tell you that the Natural Talent and Bare Knuckle Brawler combo works best. It is strong, as Natural Talent, if you have literally nothing equipped, will triple your base physical attack and aim stats. Barehanded adds 80% more attack and 30% more aim on top of that. It sounds great on paper, but remember, that combo is not exclusive to the Monk, as other classes can do it better, and it also costs 3 of your 5 ability slots as well as all of your gear, which rules out a lot of setup options. That's a very steep cost to max out just 2 stats. That being said, Berserker is Monk's best friend, as even though the Monk cannot go Berserk due to its specialty, it can take advantage of the powerful single or group strikes, and as the Monk's HP falls, it powers up the Berserker's Death's Door attack. Like with the Freelancer earlier, while it has a much lower chance to crit, it is much easier to trigger with Phoenix Flight or other HP consuming abilities. As an aside, Vanguard, Freelancer, Swordmaster, and Beastmaster can all max out the physical attack stack quickly with much less setup and cost. If you still want to equip Natural Talent and focus on normal attacking, then make the most of it with the Frenetic Fighting ability and Swordmaster as a sub-job that also leverages normal attacking. Otherwise, if you want to make the most of the Monk's HP pool, consider the Hellblade as a sub-job with more options to burn your HP with, including checking elemental weaknesses. The Bard excels in what it does best, party-wide buffs for a variety of benefits. However, depending on your setup, a Bard may find itself losing value as over time, characters will be hitting the damage cap without need for buffing, damage can be mitigated in more effective ways, and more bosses have specific counters against buffing actions. Besides buffing, the class can also put foes to sleep, and the move Shut Up and Dance completely fills an enemy's turn bar so it can help slower characters act more often. As it needs to stay focused on applying buffs quickly and often, Spiritmaster and Epic Groupcast is perfect, as the Bard should be braving constantly to also try to trigger Encore for a free singing ability, and this ensures the party is taken care of at the same time. The ability Born Entertainer should always be on, as every 15 levels, the bonus applied to singing buffs goes up by 1 to a maximum of +7. Even early in the game, the combo of active and passive buffs works, so also consider White Mage since Bard does have a bonus to restorative magic. Later, Oracle and Salve-Maker are great utility choices to complement additional party support alongside abilities status conscious and rewarding results. Beastmaster not only has the unique gimmick of capturing and storing a huge amount of monsters as ammo for later, but on paper has the potential to have the highest base stats in the game once mastered and you have caught enough. As long as you have caught the appropriate monsters, you have at your fingertips the ability to inflict every status effect, all manners of buffs and healing including barriers and reflect, the strongest spells of every element, very early access to the extremely powerful gravity spells, and hitting the soft damage cap far earlier than any other job. The Beastmaster is only as good as you put effort into it, and it does not take much to make it among the best. I highly recommend putting on the ability Beast Whisperer the moment you unlock it, as I only occasionally had it on and around the middle of the game had caught about 300 monsters passively that way. Even with this, my Beastmaster was second only to my legendary Freelancer in raw stats. Had I started when I first got the job, I can only imagine how much higher it would have been. Very loose testing by me seems to show that for every 2 or 3 monsters you catch, you get 10 more HP, 2 more MP, and 1 more physical attack, physical defense, magical attack, and magical defense. It also seems that for every roughly 5 catches, restorative power went up by 1, every 25 seemed to increase critical chance by 1, and every 50 increased speed by 1. Again, these are rough numbers, so don't take my word for it. The point is that given enough time, as you can catch 99 of every non-boss monster in the game, just assume Beastmaster has the best stats on paper. Keep in mind, your stats and abilities do not influence the strength or effects of your beast abilities, so it's advisable to either focus on improving the job or improving your beast by lowering the cost of unleashing them. Its mowdown attack is a good physical sweeper, albeit weaker than the Dragoon's Sonic Thrust or Berserker's Crescent Moon, but can still benefit greatly from the full force epic group cast combo alongside dual wield. Being the class with the 3rd highest base critical chance, it can also benefit more from crit-focused abilities like Critical Amp, Who Dares Wins, and Critical Flow. Its crowning ability, Nature's Blessing, means all MP costs are 0 for 2 turns, so this synergizes very well with Berserker again for free amped strikes and Death's Door, doing among the game's top damage output. Dragoon also pairs well, sharing spear-centric benefits and an attack that does heavy damage against silenced targets that the Beastmaster can inflict. When capturing and unleashing beasts, Beastmaster is much better as a sub-job. When capturing beasts, having mastered Phantom as the main job and Beastmaster as a sub means that for a measly 40 MP you can catch every catchable monster 100% of the time at full health. Later, when you get sub-job specialty 2, you can switch around those classes. Otherwise, if you wish to keep focus on unleashing beasts, then the best way is to make Salve-Maker the main job. Otherwise, if you wish to focus on unleashing beasts, then the best way is to make Salve-Maker the main job, Beastmaster the sub-job. With the ability sub-job BP saver and being empty-handed take advantage of the unencumbered specialty, both Nature's Blessing and Off the Chain will now cost no BP to perform, so you can brave them as much as you want. Tied as the game's fastest job, excluding Beastmaster, the Thief stands on 2 solid pillars of stealing MP and spamming among the game's strongest single-target attacks, Godspeed Strike. As a thief, you're always going to be doing either of those things because the job's stats are so terrible it hurts the effectiveness of most other job abilities. As Godspeed Strike scales off of both speed and physical attack, there are a few ways to approach it from a single target to a multi-target approach. For either, focus on the high speed and high crit bonuses from daggers, and the surpassing power ability is a must. For most of the game, a vanilla Godspeed Strike will be enough, so make sure to complement it with Critical Amp, Who Dares Wins, and Dual Wield. Later in the game, across the board an epic group cast will be applying that level of damage to a group. I highly recommend pairing a Master Freelancer or Beastmaster with Sub-Job Specialty 2 for the huge boost in stats, as Thief has an otherwise terrible array for itself. Don't forget to make sure to monitor MP usage with abilities like MP Saver or ending each turn with Steel Spirit. Otherwise, a Bard makes for a good sub-job, as it can help boost itself and others regardless of job stats, and it can also put foes to sleep that the Thief can hit extra hard against with You Snooze You Lose and Rest in Peace. Lastly, if you want to play a Thief who actually thieves, then Phantom with Sub-Job Specialty 2 is your best friend, as it means every steal attempt is a guaranteed success. Don't forget to combine this with Magpie and Rob Blind, and if you want to make it easier, Mug and Indiscriminate Rage. Now, this doesn't guarantee the enemy has anything to steal in the first place, but if they do, then with a single normal attack, you guarantee steal 2 of whatever everyone in the entire group has. This will be great if you want to farm elixirs, Oberon gems, stat boosting buns, and JP orbs from foes. As one of the game's 2 optional jobs, the Gambler is novelty more than utility, as its concept of making more money and then fueling attacks with that money is hamstringed by abilities that have low odds of success and equally low caps on damage or effects, even with its mastered specialty. In addition to low stats across the board, there is no sub-job that can help with its roulette abilities, even the Phantom's Results Guaranteed or the Freelancer's Lucky Charm. By the way, the attack costing 10,000 PG only does damage on the level of an Aga level spell, so very much not worth it. Flash the Cash does twice the damage for half the cost at later levels. Even its ability Rare Talent that boosts rare item drops by 10% per equipped member actually lowers the odds of getting the strongest weapons in the game from the endgame portal bosses because those drops are not categorized as rare. Also, its unavoidable all or nothing specialty can interfere when grinding for XP or JP. On the flip side, its crowning attack Lucky 8 is the best move, as there is a 7 out of 10 chance to do a normal attack, but a 3 out of 10 chance to do an attack that is 8 times more powerful. With no gear equipped and just surpassing power and natural talent equipped, landing on an 8 and getting a crit did a solid 22k damage, 32k on the rare crit for just 800 PG. Still, this is not a job worth having in general, except a master and boost Freelancer. The Berserker is all about burning a lot of HP or MP to do a lot of quick burst damage, can soften or cut through enemy defenses, and with simple setups is a very consistent damage dealer. Its only weakness besides terrible defense scores is its low MP pool to pull from, so consider offsetting that with Monk's maximize HP and Red Mage's HP MP converter, so now you have a massive HP pool to fuel all of your attacks. It has the ability to inflict Berserk on itself, which means on its turn it will execute one normal attack but with 50% more physical attack behind it. Because of this, if you plan to use it, anything that works with the basic attack action, like Indiscriminate Rage, Dual Wield, Frenetic Fighting, Multitask, Mug, Defensive Offense, or the Swordmaster's Solid Stance, all work with Berserk. The ability Comeback Kid from Dragoon is a Berserker's best friend, as 2 turns after going Berserk, you will be healed of Berserk and all of your spent MP and HP at the cost of 1 BP. So, all of your expensive attacks come back for free without needing to rely on any elixirs. Also, Berserker can keep the pressure up like no other when combined with Phantom, both of Phantom's specialties, and the ability Critical Flow. By braving 4 times, you can vent Fury to start berserking, hit an enemy with a weapon weakness to automatically crit, which now gives you back 1 BP per crit, do it again, and then end on Phantom's recurring or never-ending nightmare. If the enemy is finished, your Berserker will be back at 0 BP with a refilled turn meter. You will then be able to act normally during the Berserk because of the synergy of the Phantom and Berserker specialties, and can burn as much HP and MP on attacks because on your next turn you will be completely healed. As mentioned before, Berserker wears the Monk's natural talent Bare Knuckle Brawler combo very well, and also goes hand in hand with the Beastmaster, as Nature's Blessing with sub-job BP Saver makes the move free, while also making any MP costs for the next 2 turns also free. So you can go wild with Amp Strikes or Death's Door and not worry about a thing. It may surprise you to hear, but Hellblade is not a great partner to Berserker, as Hellblade is also a selfish job that uses up all the HP or MP for its own attacks and doesn't really add anything to the Berserker's kit other than damage over time elemental attacks that don't match the Berserker's pace. With access to the Earth, Wind, and Static heal spell families and the potential to add ailments to its spells, the Red Mage makes up for quality with quantity. With poor physical and magic attack stats, a low MP pool, and no bonuses from staves, yet very strong magic defense and proficiency in swords, the Red Mage is a job who needs an unconventional approach. Either way, the ability's epic group cast and full force are great for any offensive chain spelling. If you want to make more of a physical Red Mage, both of its specialties work very well with the Phantom specialties 1 and 2, as additional status ailments will guarantee hit any non-immune target when the right spell is cast, including rare statuses like Freeze and Stop. Many Phantom attacks deal extra damage on targets with afflictions, it can heal itself, buff offensive stats with Become the Lightning, and will crit automatically on weakness hits. Combine it with rewarding results to get back BP for inflicting status effects, and Dirty Fighter to deal more damage to those afflicted. If you want to make more of a magic-oriented Red Mage, the Arcanist is a powerful match, as with Subjob Specialty 2, all of your group cast spells punch 20% harder, and party blowback is very minor because of your high magic defense. You also have access to light, dark, fire, water, lightning, and even non-element and death magic attacks, so now every element and status effect is potentially possible. Add Status Conscious to increase the odds of affliction, or maybe stick with Magic Amp and Magic Critical to get more multiplied raw damage out of Chain Spell. The Ranger is a straightforward striker, dealing crits and heavy damage to foes based on their creature typing. As such, abilities like Critical Amp and Critical Flow will maximize crits, Brute Force and Raw Power will take advantage of the fact you will likely be braving 3 times to get full barrage benefits, and MP Saver to stretch out your very small MP pool. 2 jobs complement Ranger the most, the Freelancer and Phantom. The Freelancer and Subjob Specialty 2 can bump up its curiously low stat array, and more importantly boost the job's critical chance to a base of 42%. Phantom is another fantastic option, as not only does its second specialty mean crits will get back BP with Critical Flow, so that means more braving more often, but it also buffs itself physically, and the Ranger can paralyze with 100% success, which is the single most useful anti-boss option there is. Locking down a boss with paralysis means they don't do anything, and the ailment works on 90% of all bosses and rare monsters in the game. The first true defense role in the game, excelling by proactively protecting others, countering foes, and taking hits. First off, do not be tricked into pairing this with any active attacking jobs or Swordmaster or Berserker. Reason being, those classes do benefit from aggro too, but their focus is dealing damage, not taking it, which distracts from this job's purpose, which is protecting the party. Keep in mind, you can only have one stance active at a time, and for you, that needs to always be Defender of the People. Most of Shieldmaster's abilities cost BP, so the trick is accumulation and conservation. Avoid multiple Braves in a turn, and rely more on passive abilities, such as Dual Shields, Maximize HP, No Guts No Glory, Convert MP, Revenge, Turntables, and BP Limit Up. I do not recommend Counter because of how poor the job is with every weapon, so the damage, if it even triggers, will be terrible. You also want to avoid things that slow you down and prevent you from adapting to the situation and responding fast enough, so consider Fast Hands and Comeback Kid. I know that's a lot of abilities, but that shows you how flexible the job is in keeping your party alive. For sub-jobs, the go-to choice seems like Bastion, which does have a lot of complementary damage negation and mitigation options you can spend when you have a lot of BP stored, but keep in mind defaulting from Bodyguard or Defender of the People does not trigger either of Bastion's specialties. Though, Defender of the People does trigger before Rampart or Velation, so you can enjoy the extra layer of protection. Another sub-job to consider is Vanguard, as improving the chance you are the focus of attention with Enrage or Infuriate is great, especially when combined with Turntables to gain PP if you evade the attacks. I would also recommend Spiritmaster, as though the spirits are very expensive, Convert MP can help, and having a spirit constantly supporting you and the group is worth it. Focusing on single target debuffs, the Pictomancer is a specific niche to take advantage of, as it's usually faster and cheaper to buff the party instead of wearing down just one target, which is likely to be a boss. However, with great speed, a deep MP pool, and a surprising proficiency in shields and magic attack, Pictomancer is a deceptively well-rounded mage that can really hit where it hurts. Part of its kit includes high tier light and dark attacks, and a way to inflict doom to an entire group. Splatter, which inflicts Daub, is its signature ability, and a fantastic debuff in general, as it makes the target vulnerable to every weapon and magic type, meaning extra damage up to double is inflicted. However, Splatter has a mischance, and a Daub target does not take more damage from non-weapon physical attacks like Body Slam, or non-elemental magic attacks like Meteor. Remember, Born Entertainer should always be on for non-splatter moves, MP Saver to cut down the cost of the very useful mass production ability to handle groups, and Dirty Fighter will do extra damage to debuff targets. With how fast Pictomancer is, it will be applying buffs to itself or debuffs to neutralize foes very quickly. Otherwise, the two best subjobs that complement Pictomancer's sabotage focus is first Phantom, with subjob specialty 1 and 2 to not only guarantee all targets are daubed or hit with Doom, but every attack you exploit them with is an automatic crit. Otherwise, the Oracle job with subjob specialty 1 means all of its normally underwhelming triple spells are hitting drastically harder thanks to the Pictomancer's debuffs triggering Oracle's specialty. As one of the fastest jobs in the game with decent physical attack, great magical defense, and a slew of BP-fueled jump-related attacks, Dragoon is a technical job to work with. Given how turns do not come in a predictable order anymore, coordinating jump to evade enemy attacks or strike before they default is challenging for the most part. In addition, it does not matter how much you brave, once you select a jump it executes immediately, cancelling all following commands and current stances. Jumping also removes the character from battle and does not count as a turn, so it cannot be affected or targeted by anything, including effects on enemies like taunts or spirits recovering your side, and effects like Doom or Regeneration do not accumulate while in the air. Some attack abilities will work alongside jump, but not all, and I find that includes Drain Attack, Asper Attack, Mug, Indiscriminate Rage, Full Force, and Multitask. It said it was triggering frenetic fighting, but I didn't see any extra attacks or damage. Personally, I find jump a unique stall tactic that would work great if there were some way to predict turn order in the game. While Soul Jump is a fun way to trigger the bonus attack abilities of other Dragoons in the party, jump is a gimmick that can be safely avoided. That being said, subjobs best for Dragoon are going to depend on what aspect of the job appeals to you. With Thief, alongside Indiscriminate Rage and Mug, Dragoon can rob entire mobs while dealing group damage and perform Godspeed Strike better than the Thief itself. If you want a tanky Dragoon, its high wind specialty is a free variation of dual wield, and combined with the ability Thrust and Parry and defensive offense, the Dragoon turns into a considerable tank with speed, which makes it worth considering paired with a normally slow Bastion, gaining buffs while attacking, can quickly gain BP to burn, and is fast enough to support the party with walls while protecting itself with jump. Finally, the Pictomancer can assist by quickly prepping the field with defense debuffs and weapon vulnerability before the Dragoon slams down with any of the jump options. Excelling in passive party-wide recovery buffs, the Spiritmaster is best played keeping its BP low in order to keep all of its spirits on the field. An excellent healer, the go-to sub-job option may be White Mage with sub-job specialty 2 in order to make many spells on both lists multi-target instead of single, and that is a good choice that benefits from this job's better stat array. If you want to benefit the most from the job's second specialty constantly healing, restoring MP and BP, auto-raising, and curing ailments, then make sure to always equip the skill Full Force and or its bigger brother Epic Group Cast to enhance their effects. Also consider equipping Above and Beyond, as the Spirit's healing can then overheal the group and provide a good amount of temporary hit points. Keep in mind that once a character has temporary hit points, they will not gain any more until all of them are used up, so it's not infinitely stacking HP. However, remember that Purebringer will wipe out nearly all status changes like debuffs as well as buffs, though your temporary HP will be fine. This means you cannot run a Bard's Singing, Oracle's buffing spells, or even Bastion's Rampart or Velation for example, as Purebringer will wipe out all of those effects. If that bothers your team composition, then the ever-helpful Pictomancer shines even more, as you can still get an edge weakening the enemy, or Beastmaster for unique offensive debuffing options that do not depend on your offensive stats. With quick multiple attacks and counterplays, the fast and hard-hitting Swordmaster is all about getting the most out of normal attacks. This may seem rather plain, and it is, but one thing to note is that in this game where every boss has a few hidden counters, one that is very few is countering a normal attack, so the Swordmaster sort of flies under a lot of radars unchallenged. There are three main ways the job does what it does, and the first is with Solid Stance that enables 2 normal attacks for the price of 1, and Heavy Strikes that can stagger the enemy. Next is Fluid Stance that counters any attack that hits them and striking back to steal or gain BP. Finally, there are flurry attacks that perform a set amount of attacks at 2/3 their normal power. Keep in mind the stances in flurry do not benefit from each other, and the counter stances will not trigger against magic and will not trigger if an incoming attack is evaded or does no damage. The flurry attacks do work with Mug, Drain Attack, Asper Attack, but not all normal attack enhancers like Multitask, Indiscriminate Rage, or the Ranger's Barrage, though they can attack a group at full strength by burning 3 ability slots on Across the Board and Epic Group Cast. Finally, in order to take advantage of its second specialty, which is to gain both specialties of its subclass, you must be dual-wielding matching weapons. Empty hands do not count, even with Bare Knuckle Brawler equipped, nor does dual shields. Keep in mind, you still need to equip dual wield to remove the penalties for your offhand weapon. The best way of improving basic attacks is improving physical attack, so using Freelancer or Beastmaster while dual-wielding matching weapons will be the largest boost to the entire job, even if that is not an exciting reason for doing so. Vanguard is also a solid choice, as it offers physical attack and crit boosts alongside aggro buffing, and Enrage can help feed into counter stances of a Swordmaster, especially with abilities like Turntables or Revenge to regain BP. Lastly, Berserker is not a bad alternative, as Crescent Moon is a great physical sweeping attack, and Berserking does not negate any of your stances, so when Rage and Reason triggers, you can still enjoy the 50% physical attack boost with Flurry or Amp Strikes, while still enjoying more powerful Solid or Fluid stances during a Rage turn. Finally, if you are not dual-wielding or using matched weapons, I recommend Oracle with Subjob Specialty 1, as with the ability to add any element to your weapons and the ability to do 40% more damage alongside haste and quick buffs, turn this job into a very versatile threat. With access to time magic and single target random element attacks, the Oracle is about creating and exploiting elemental weaknesses. The buff and debuff spells are useful to any job, while adding any of the 7 elemental weaknesses to enemies, resistance to allies, or imbuement to weapons makes this handy to any team. Though, its random element, random quantity single target spell is nothing to write home about. What makes Oracle so interesting is that once mastered, it has the ability to copy any other class in everything except for its job specialties. It will replace all of its own stats and proficiencies with the sub-jobs while retaining both ability kits. So the Oracle is kind of its own sub-job, and therefore, you should think about pairing it with a job that you will get everything from except for its specialties. Because of this, don't limit yourself to another spellcasting job, as the Oracle can turn into every physical fighter too. While it's true you could cherry pick back a specialty, you might as well just make that job the main job to begin with and add Oracle as a sub-job. So consider avoiding classes made stronger by their specialties, which is unfortunately most of them. Some classes with fairly minor specialties would be Black Mage, Monk, Thief, and Hellblade, so consider those to mimic. Finally, consider across the board as a fast way to apply Reflect and Elemental Empowerments on your party or debuffs to the enemy. How would you like to resurrect, heal, or give elixirs to everyone in your party for free? How about using all the money you're not using to buy BP for others? How about locking down bosses with Paralysis, Dread, Contagion, Silence, Blindness, Confusion, or Charm and keep them there? Optional job Salve-Maker is that answer and more. So the funny thing about the item-based support job is that it works well as a sub-job to literally everyone, but only one job actually supports it, and that is the Phantom. With its results guaranteed second specialty, the Salve-Maker doesn't need anything else to be arguably the best support job in the entire game. Bosses act fast and have so many ways of gaining and spending BP quickly, and no one shuts them down faster than a Salve-Maker. Just make sure to keep healing item amp and rewarding results on, keep your hands empty, and if you choose not to pair it with Phantom, consider adding Status Conscious on it too. Another great synergy, as mentioned before, is adding Beastmaster as a sub-job, but not for its stats. Instead, with nothing in your hands for unencumbered and sub-job BP saver, the versatile and powerful off-the-chain from Beastmaster gives you access to excellent attack, support, and utility options for 0 BP cost. The Arcanist is the game's strongest magic attacking class, with several of the strongest spells that can hit friend and foe alike with every element including non-element. Keep in mind, Reflect does not work against the battlefield-wide spells like Meltdown and Apocalypse, and the friendly fire taken will depend on each job's magical defense score, so it can range from negligible to nearly half. In order to take advantage of the Arcanist's power without putting your party in harm's way, either set up recovery with Spiritbringer, elemental protection via Oracle, or equip your party with gear that negates or absorbs the intended spells thrown down. The whole point of the class is to nuke the entire field, so no one can help better with that than a Red Mage with sub-job specialty 2. Make sure you also have Full Force, Magic Amp, and Magic Critical as they all stack, and if you want to throw Doom out there every so often, consider Status Conscious as well. Whereas the Shieldmaster focuses on blocking and damage mitigation, the Bastion focuses on damage negation and defaulting. If you want to take advantage of the job specialties, then know the ability Auto Guard does not trigger either of the helpful job specialties. For sub-jobs, I do not recommend Shieldmaster, and instead recommend Swordmaster, as Bastions are meant to be more aggressive and pressure the enemy behind shields and walls. Combined, Fluid Stances and Bastion specialties will trigger when hit and defaulting, though just being in a Fluid Stance will not trigger either Bastion specialty. In addition, Rampart and Velation have a higher priority than Swordmaster stances or defaulting, so when a barrier is up, waiting in a counter stance does nothing, so instead, just attack with either job's offensive options. Skills like No Guts No Glory, Comeback Kid, BP Limit Up, and Revenge are very useful to have on. Another option that works well with Bastion is Dragoon, as outside healing aside, the Dragoon has the strongest physical attack that also heals, Spirit Surge, which recovers half of damage dealt, and a couple of those restore any HP loss putting up a barrier. Jumping can keep the Bastion safe, barrier or not, and with Dragoon's momentum, the extra heavy Bastion does very high damage with jumps. Not to mention, the jump attack consumes a lot of BP, and between the Bastion's ability and sub-job BP saver, the more powerful Dragoon moves are much more affordable. Lastly, the Bastion has a decent restorative power stat, so simple Spiritmaster to heal back lost damage and BP with Full Force equipped can be helpful. A crit-heavy assassin, the Speedy Phantom can punish various ailments and also fill up its turn meter to go again almost immediately. Once mastered, Phantom becomes arguably the best utility class in the game, as its first and second specialties combined mean any vulnerability is an automatic crit, and anything with a chance to have an effect is going to be bumped to 100% with a small MP cost. While there are combat usages for the Phantom, it's hard to deny it also makes for the best Salve-Maker in the game, resulting in bosses, even super bosses, getting locked down with Paralysis and Dread, and 3 Mega Elixirs for the entire party thanks to its 2 specialties. Furthermore, Phantom's second specialty works on any ability, spell, passive ability, and even specialty that says it has a chance of something else happening. So, the Freelancer's Last Stand will always let you live at 1 HP, the Pictomancer's Doom will always hit, Red Mage's spells will always inflict status when possible, Mug will always steal, Critical Flow will always give you back 1 BP per critical hit, and so on. Besides also being one of the few jobs naturally better at Godspeed striking than a thief, consider also the Beastmaster job. Not only can it provide tremendous stats, but it can also daub targets with the fresh Frond monster, and thus you can auto-crit anything without any extra setup. Many abilities can complement this versatile striker, such as Subjob Specialty 1, Healing Item Amp, and rewarding results if you opt to go with the Salve-Maker. Consider also Critical Amp, Critical Flow, Who Dares Wins, BP Limit Up, Dirty Fighter, and Dual Wield for offensive options. Hellblade is all about burning HP to do big numbers of damage, and it does it better than anyone as the king of damage in the whole game. If you simply want to see big numbers, all you have to do is have Salve-Maker as your sub-job. With surpassing power across the board and HP MP converter, you can Brave 3 times, use Ultima Blade on a group, then compound an elixir for yourself and repeat again, for 99,999 damage twice to every enemy. It may seem boring, but literally nothing else in its kit comes close to that absurd max damage. All the same, Oracle with Subjob Specialty 1 will help make the most of its many elemental blades to do around double damage when matching weaknesses, and hasting itself will allow it to keep up recovery. What's interesting is the repeat damage over time blades do not do the exact same damage as the first attack. Rather, they make their own separate attack at the same power they were initially made at. They can crit on their own, and if the enemy dies, any leftover blades will attack another random enemy. Lastly, the ability Comeback Kid actually removes the Doom status from death throws, so like Berserk, you can enjoy a couple of turns while empowered, and before Doom hits, it will be removed and all of your MP and HP will be restored. Finally, maximized HP will not improve the damage of the blades, but it will be more fuel for Minus Strike. As the final asterisk in the game, this job is all around strong and good at everything stat-wise. With specialties that just rain down BP to the group and attacks that scale based on your stats or playthrough progress, this classy job is there to enhance the values of all the other jobs, but mostly there to make endgame grinding effortless. With B rank proficiency with all weapons, there are no wrong choices on what to pair this job with, so just do whatever makes you happy if you have specific combos in mind. I hope all that helped. With 24 classes in this game and many of them remixed from previous games, this opens up many more opportunities for fun team combinations. Remember that there is no ultimate team combination, so have fun your way and feel free to experiment. If you have any great class combos, share them in the comments below, and check out my other series, Recapitation, which recaps stories from games like Bravely Default in case you forgot or missed out. Anyway, thanks for watching, leave a like if you learned something, and I'll see you on the next battlefield.